Good morning, friends. I'm Navneet.
Okay.
And should I go ahead? Okay. Okay, I'm working as assistant professor at Delhi University at Department of Philosophy. And topic of today, my topic is Phenomenological Zen Philosophical Counseling for a Transformation of Existential Structure. Okay, so philosophical counseling is conceived differently by different thinkers. Like in Western world, we have Ran Lahav, who believes philosophical counseling is for transformation of a worldview. And then Gerd Eckenbach, who said there is no method, no particular one single method. And then we have Marinov Lu and Oscar Brennifer. Oscar Brennifer believes that it is critical thinking, Socratic method, midwifery, all that. All that is fine. But the method which I am trying to develop at Delhi University is a integrative method using three resources actually. One is phenomenology and particularly Heideggerian phenomenology. Second is Zen Buddhism. And third is dynamical system theory, which is a relatively recent development in cognitive science. And I see it as an offshoot of Heideggerian philosophy actually. Now in this talk, I won't talk about DST or dynamic system theory because that becomes then too long a topic. So using Heidegger's philosophy, we realize that we are not individuals. We are Daseins. And that means Dasein is German word which means being there. And I will say being out there. So when we say being out there means where? So one is in temporality. The experience of now, here, right now, for example, is not just affected by the stimuli in the present, but it is also affected by our past baggage, our past experiences, and our future expectations. Those future expectations, they are coloring the experience of now. So our existence is temporally extended, one thing. Then we are obviously affected by our historicity, our culturality, this thing. Then one more issue is that how we pragmatically connect with our world. So instrumental pragmatic relation with the world, that is also entering into our understanding of the world and also our own self. Now, based on these ideas, there is a scholar, Kevin Aho. He develops an existential structure of our being, and that involves four elements. One is our state of embodiment. We are embodied beings. And then our relationship with others, then spatiality, our relation with space, and then temporality. Now, these are our default existential structures. And there are certain good thing, bad thing, everything involved in this existential structure, and our suffering and some mental disorders, not all, but some mental disorders might be the result of disturbance in this existential structure. So if someone is suffering with anxiety or depression, as an example, then one thing is to go to a psychiatrist and take medicine. Other method might be just to change his or her existential structure. So that involves changing his or her relationship with others, maybe deliberately planning for it, facilitating for it, changing the state of body, and it involves very simple gross thing, doing exercises, physical exercises, yes, and also to enhance or modify our physical pragmatic relation with the world. For example, one very simple thing that we use a lot nowadays, motor vehicles. But if we just change, if we start using bicycle more, I think that is also one way to change our relation with the world in the physical mode. That's just an example. Anyhow, so these four are the default structures of our being in the world, or existential structure. I suggest that through the methodology I'm trying to develop, that at two levels, actually three, but here I'm focusing on two, we need to work. So one is that transformed existential structure is required, and in that transformed structure also there are some 4 or 5 elements. So first element is conscious reflection on our attitudes, values, which we have already accepted from the culture in a passive manner, without ever reflecting on it. And that involves then authenticity, inculcation of authenticity, because when we choose something, when we go beyond the given traditional norms, then that opens our horizons, and in that sense, one becomes authentic. Second is to choose something which is in Japanese called ikigai, something to live for, which is giving meaning in our life. It can be music for someone, it can be football, it can be sculpture or philosophy, whatever. For different people, it can be different. And I'm reminded of Viktor Frankl's work here, Man in Search of Meaning. And he says that when someone loses his meaning, then he retorts to only sensory pleasures. And so it's not surprising that most of our population is concerned only with air conditioners, hi-fi cars, high-paying job, respect, and all that. I mean, respect everyone demands, but I mean, it's money, fame, and power, or sensory pleasures. So when there is nothing to live for from inside as a meaning of one's life, then these are the only things. Then third thing is our changed pragmatic relation with the world, which I have already described, like, for example, using more of bicycles than motor vehicles. And then fourth would be inculcating a Zen mind. And by Zen mind, I simply mean to have a silent mind. I'm not talking about any religious ceremonies or any rituals by spirituality. I don't mean at all. Rather, I despise all of those formalities. So stillness of mind is just facilitated in the Zen by Zen meditation. And by stillness of mind, I just mean when the mind is not full of endless thoughts, which just ripples in our mind, which keeps us disturbed. And Zen meditation, zazen as they call it, is one way to develop it, and it's a gradual development. So these two existential structures, I'm trying to develop a method to from the default existential structure to a transformed existential structure. And I believe that it's not a matter of merely logical consistency or critical thinking. We are already, educated people, we are very critical thinkers. The problem usually lies in our existential structure, for which we have disturbed affect, disturbed emotions. So we need to change our worldview, a little bit of Stoic advice that events are not in our control, but our attitude towards them is in our control. So a kind of, which is basis of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy in psychology. So these are some cognitive, affective, meditative things which probably can work, through which we can probably work towards transformation of our existential structure, thereby developing a kind of resilience against depression, anxiety, and maybe some kind of psychological problems like PTSD, ADHD. A lot of research needs to be done towards these. I mean, just by changing an existential structure, if you can really bring about change or some help towards someone suffering with OCD or post-traumatic stress disorder and all that, and then depression, obviously, depression, anxiety. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Thank you. Yeah, questions? Any questions? Sure.
Can I quickly ask? Though you have already hinted knowledge, this existential structure need to be
changed.
How much is it is in the control of the person? You said that going through it, you can change at this attitude.
Yeah, first element I said conscious reflection.
Conscious reflection. 4 factors you have listed. So when somebody is in a kind of sweat, a kind of phase, he or she is not doing the conscious reflection he is capable of, but at most of the time one is not able to, because one is having complete disconnect
With?
with conscious reflection. When you are participating in your own reflection,
Good.
so how to, it can't be mechanical.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how to address this question?
Sure. Let me tell you, a few of my ideas are from my own personal experiences. Like once I was somehow annoyed with my parents, and I left home and went to mountains, to the Dharamshala. I lived there alone for 1 month, and when I came back, I felt I'm a bit transformed person. Why? The simple reason was that existential structure had changed by changing the relation with others, because that cultural environment was not, I was not in that environment. It was not with me. So when someone lives alone significantly, oh, I forget to mention, actually, I have also developed fourfold method, not developed, I should say, I'm just working on it. I suggest fourfold method to bring about this transformation. And one involves living alone significantly. And living alone doesn't necessarily mean that you are you feel isolated or depressed. You can be contented, self-fulfillment after a while. So one is to live alone significantly. Second is to do formal meditation. Third is to do something intense, like doing mathematics, doing philosophy, doing simple gardening, but with full presence. And fourth thing, which is very interesting, is not to see mirrors. That's very counterintuitive. That how can it have any impact? And we all are very fond of looking ourselves in mirror, including myself. But but I think, and I have written a paper on it, mirror phenomenology. So when I believe in short that looking at the mirror images inculcate the otherness inside us, that how I am being interpreted or evaluated by the lens of others. That otherness, I believe, needs to be diminished to develop a sense of authenticity. We don't live our own life. We live according to the dictate of the other, using the Hegelian term, the other, thus man. So if we have to regain ourselves, I think these four methods can help. So,